Hey guys, this is Chris Napoltz.
And this is David. We are
Drop Disgusta.
Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget, we are powered by Amplified Events. To learn more about the great work they do, visit ampyourevent.com.
We would also like to thank and welcome our digital marketer, Aaron Talent.
If you're a fan of the show, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Drop Disgusta Podcast.
And whatever you're doing this week, make sure you hashtag drop the dis.
Here's the show.
Hey guys, you're here with Drop Disgusta here at Sacred Heart.
Yeah, and I definitely did the intro last time, so it's definitely your turn now.
This is Chris.
This is David with
David's
Chris.
here, yes. And we are here with...
Hey, I'm Scott Seidel. I'm the Executive and Artistic Director of the Augusta Players. Just had my second anniversary with the Augusta Players and my second anniversary here in Augusta.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for
Which one
everything
was
you
more
do here.
special?
For
Don't
that
answer that.
overwhelming applause. They are one and the same.
There you
as
go.
far as
That's
I'm
a beautiful
concerned.
answer.
I'm thrilled to be here. I came most recently from Las Vegas and New York before that, and 8 years in Nashville before that, and on tour for 7 years before that, and lots of other places. And we were talking before we got started. I love Augusta so much, and I'm so happy to be here.
Well, we're so happy to have you on the podcast. And sitting right next to Scott is...
Russell Joel Brown, and I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having us, guys.
Oh, heck yeah.
I'm originally from Augusta, and I've lived in a lot of different places. I've lived in Atlanta and Los Angeles and Fort Lauderdale and Dallas, Texas, and New York City. Most of my adult life in New York, and so I'm glad to be back home in Augusta, which is the best city that I've ever lived in.
That's awesome.
Thank you for doing that.
Yes, thank you. Plug for Augusta,
Put the
Georgia.
cue cards down now. Now
Yeah.
we can go into the
No, but
interview.
it's really true. In my first month in town, I met Russell. We were both invited to speak on a panel about the arts for Leadership Augusta, and we had not met before that day. And I think that's one of the more than a handful of things that we've bonded over as friends is just our passion and affection for the city. You from arguably a lifetime in and out, and me as a newcomer, just really love being here.
I think you guys combined probably have more different city experience, travel experience than literally probably every guest we've had put together. So this is really exciting. We're getting a really cool perspective here.
Yeah, it's great because a lot of people that are locals here and they've stayed in Augusta, Disgusta becomes an easy name because they never got out.
Right.
And I will say I'm one of those that never got out. I don't think it's Disgusta. But so having y'all on, you grew up here and then you did your thing.
Right.
Did a great
A lot of
thing.
things.
A lot of
A
things.
whole lot
And
of
I hope
things.
you talk about some of those things. And so did you. I mean, you were never from here and now you're in Augusta.
It's home,
Y'all
yeah.
had a lot of experience and to be able to call this place home is awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I do want to start, so the reason we have you guys on today, the reason we're talking about the Augusta Players, aside from the fact the Augusta Players is super cool, is the fact that you guys are working on a new performance. Is that right?
Very true. Yeah, we start our 75th season, 75th anniversary season at the end of September, and the show that we're opening that season with is a show called Ragtime, which, going back to what I just said about Russell and I becoming friends quickly, we have a history with the show, too, that's very, very similar, that goes back 20 years. And it's just thrilling to be able to finally be in a place with the talent that Augusta has, and it's the right time for this show, it's the right place, just everything about Ragtime just kind of was perfect to make it happen here in Augusta in September, and we're thrilled to bring it to Augusta audiences and the Augusta community.
And we're going to go into Ragtime. But first, let's listen to this clip from the Augusta Players.
The Augusta Players' 75th anniversary season opens with the epic award-winning musical Ragtime. Called one of the best shows of the past 25 years, Ragtime follows the lives of 3 different families as their stories intertwine searching for the American dream. See Ragtime at the Imperial Theater September 27th, 28th, and 29th. For tickets, go to AugustaPlayers.org or call 706-826-4707. Don't miss Ragtime!
have to ask those that don't know about Ragtime and
Yeah.
what it's about. Could you explain kind of the plot, what time it is, what time it takes place in, and maybe why it would be perfect for it to happen, and why y'all chose this to be your opener for your 75th year?
Sure. So the simple way that I use to describe it for anybody that knows anything about musical theater is it's the American Les Mis.
Okay.
You know, Les Miserables is this massive, historic, covers decades of time with lots and lots of stories that are all woven together. Ragtime is that. It
Right.
takes place in the early 1900s. It starts in 1906. And it's just a massive story. Our production has 48 people on stage in it, so it's huge. And it's about three very disparate families. There is an upper-class white family from New Rochelle. There is a Latvian immigrant that has just arrived on a ship, and his daughter, Tata and his daughter. And then there is a Harlem musician, a black man who has a relationship with this woman, and they have a child. And so it's, to oversimplify it a little bit, it's about these three very different groups trying to get their version of the American dream and the obstacles that they run up against.
Very relevant.
Yes.
Wow.
Very relevant.
Yes.
And they run into a lot of obstacles, some more obvious than others. And their stories become intertwined. They run into each other and cross paths often during the course of this show. And what's really cool about it, besides the amazing music that's part of this show, is it's framed, these fictional characters' stories are framed by real historic characters. So, you know, the show was written by, or the novel was written by E.L. Doctorow in the 70s, and he wrote in J.P. Morgan and Henry Ford and Houdini and Booker T. Washington and Evelyn Nesbit, not quite as well known, Emma Goldman, who was a revolutionary in the early 1900s in the United States. And so all of these true-to-life characters help tell the story of these fictional characters, and so it's dense. There's a lot of fun and entertainment stuff like vaudeville numbers. Then there's really powerful, heavy-duty, serious issues that are touched on. There's great ragtime music. There's Broadway music. There's gospel music, storytelling songs, folk style songs. So we all overuse the phrase "something for everyone." But it's
Seems
very
like you're pretty close.
it's very appropriate for this show. There truly is something for everyone, and it's just, in addition to just being incredibly entertaining, unbelievably powerful. We finished staging Act 1 this past week, and the room was in tears just with what had just happened and the story that we had just
That's incredible.
finished telling. Yeah, and as I said, I've been wanting to do this show for 20 years, and finally in the right time with the right guy and the right other people to make it happen. It's just thrilling to be
And
a
we're
part of
going to
this.
get to the right guy
Yeah,
in
I
a
was going to
second.
say, yeah. Why is it
You've
the
been
right
dominating
guy?
this. But, so what's your role been on the show so far?
Well, I'm the director of the show because I, along with a couple other people, run the Augusta Players. I'm also the executive producer, and then I am one of 4 choreographers. The show is so big and hits so many different styles. We have 4 different choreographers creating the movement and dance for the show, so I'm one of those 4 as well.
A lot of hats. A lot of hats.
That's kind of goes hand in hand when you're doing community theater a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So, and now we're finally going to give the big guest his chance to talk. So, what's your role been, Russell? What is your role been? And 2, how do you feel about this show? What is it eliciting in you? And how have your experiences contributed to helping you with this?
So I play Cole House Walker Jr., who is a ragtime musician from Harlem.
Hence the title, I suppose.
Yes.
Okay.
But who has a, like many black actors and singers and musicians, had a career in Europe. Because the work just wasn't here. And the appreciation wasn't here in America at that time. And so many, many, many black actors and black artists went to Europe, where their artistry was appreciated at a greater level.
I think that's a story that hasn't been told in the public sector very much.
Well, maybe
That's really
not as
interesting.
much, but I mean, if you think about like all of the people who went there, there's James Baldwin, there's there are countless. Jessie Norman, who's from Augusta, she had an incredible career in Europe. yes, she played the major opera houses here, but her claim to fame is the German lieder. Well, why would you choose German lieder if you're an American singer?
Gotcha.
Right. So she had great triumphs in Austria and in France and in Germany as well. So it's not surprising that this ragtime musician would be on tour in Europe a
Definitely.
lot. So anyway, my character falls in love with a girl, and almost as soon as their relationship is taking off, he goes on tour for several months. I mean, a long time. And so that's kind of where our story, my girl and myself, that's where our story takes off. But my role in the show is to play that part. But because I grew up in the Players, and because I really got my start there as an 8-year-old, I'm really invested in the company. Yes, because it's based in Augusta, but also because I never would have gone to Broadway. I never would have made it to Broadway if it were not for the Players. So I am playing the role of Coalhouse Walker, but I'm also marketing as if it were my own show.
Right.
It's not my show, but I'm marketing as if it were, because I'm very closely associated with the Players. I'm very closely associated with this show, and so I'm out there making sure that all of the community knows that it's happening, and so that they can make a decision as to whether they want to come. They won't be able to say they didn't know that it was happening.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned Broadway.
Yes.
Yeah, we
So-
definitely have to talk about that.
When you went to New York, you mentioned being in New York most of your career. That was
Yes.
your career mostly. How did you get to New York? And when you got to New York, you've got to tell people about your Broadway.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure, I'll be
Got
happy
to.
to. So I went to New York in the fall of 1990.
Okay.
I thought that I would spend maybe 3 or 4 more years before I went, because I was living in Dallas, Texas at the time, and I thought, oh, well, I really need some more experience before I get to New York. And I had the great fortune of meeting 12 actors from New York who came to Dallas to do a show. And so I was talking to them, and they were saying, basically, they said to me, you're wasting your time in Dallas. If you want to be a New York
Although
actor,
Dallas is a great city, if anyone's from Dallas.
yeah, Dallas
We're
is
not
a,
dissing Dallas.
That's right. Dallas is
We're
wonderful.
not dissing on Dallas when
That's
it's
right.
no New York or Augusta.
But they said if you want to be a New York actor, you can't figure out if you're ready for New York in Dallas. You have to find out if you're ready for New York in New York.
Right.
You can't gauge where you fall on the continuum in New York if you live in Dallas. And I was like, well, that makes sense, but I really want to get some more shows under my belt, and I want to do this, and they were like, you're wasting your time. So I made the decision. I talked to my family and made the decision that I would move to New York 3 months from the time that those actors left Dallas.
Wow.
I had $400 in my pocket, but I had a place to stay. So that was the easy part.
And it was 1990.
And it was 1990. That's right. That was the other easy
Yeah.
part.
Just to go ahead and throw this out there, I was not born yet.
Yeah, neither of us were.
Just letting
that's-
you know.
It's
I mean,
good
just,
to know.
Yes.
I don't know if it's really germane to this conversation.
I just wanted to
They're
throw
just
it out
making
there.
us feel bad, so thanks.
Right.
Yeah, we'll edit that part out.
In which case, mission accomplished. No, but so I moved to New York, 1990, and I thought, really naively, I was 26. I thought it's going to take maybe a year or year and a half to get to Broadway, because I'm really talented,
Yeah.
and I'm sure there's some other
Like
talented
what? There's
people
2
there.
steps. Like you get to New York,
You
you
get
practice,
there.
you're on Broadway,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Well,
easy.
Or
There's
3
a
steps.
sign up. You just sign up,
Yeah.
and
Right.
when it's your turn, they call you.
That's
Like, oh,
right.
sweet.
It was 1990.
It
was
was,
fourth in line.
and I was 26. So I get there, and I have some successes, in the first 5 years that I'm there, but no Broadway at all.
Okay.
I maybe went to 1 Broadway audition in those 5 years. So, but I had enough markers along the way that said you're on the right track and you're in the right place. So I spent a lot of time on the road, but I finally got a role in The Lion King. In I'd been in New York 15 years.
And what was that role?
I was understudy. I was in the ensemble and understudy to Mufasa and Scar.
Wow.
Yes.
And when you say understudy,
so
forgive my ignorance.
No, that's not at all. My job was to sing in the ensemble every night, but if the actor playing Mufasa or Scar were sick, absent on an industrial, if he didn't feel like it that day, if he had a wisdom tooth out, then I would be one of the actors that would be called to play the role. So I played the role of Mufasa I was with Lion King 12 years. I probably played Mufasa 350 times.
Wow.
So more times than you would think, just hearing understudy.
Yes.
A lot more times than you would think.
Yes, but we were also, the show ran continuously, like any Broadway show. It's 8 shows a week, every week of every year. I mean, there's no downtime, right?
Wow.
But because I was mostly on tour, we're also traveling. So that means you land in Cleveland and something's blooming. Well, everybody's sick because they have allergies to something they don't live around. And so it was not uncommon that someone would call the show and say, yeah, so I'm going to be out tonight. And it's 4:00 and the show is at 7:30.
Yeah.
And I get a phone call.
So you have to be ready.
Yeah. So it's fine. I mean, that was the gig. That was my job. So in my 26th year in New York, I finally made it to Broadway.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
So that is a lesson for anyone who's listening, that you can never give up on your dreams. It's okay if you change your mind about your dreams. You find out some more information about it, you're like, I really don't, that's not my dream anymore because of what I know about it now.
Yeah.
Right.
But to say, I'm not good enough, or any of those other excuses, I think is giving up on your dreams, and I don't believe it. I don't believe in that. So anyway, I made it to Broadway, and I performed on Broadway with The Lion King for 3 months. And then I went back to the tour.
And that was as the lead, right?
That was no, I was in the ensemble also.
Okay.
But they did give me the opportunity to play Mufasa on Broadway.
That is
Nice.
Yeah, so I was so grateful, and of course I killed it. But,
Well, that's implied. We're all here right now
yeah,
for a reason.
You're right,
you
that's
know?
implied. Yeah, but it was an incredible experience, and it was worth the 26 years to wait.
I'm trying to imagine you getting into character as Scar one night, and then Mufasa the second night. Like you hate your character one night, and then the next night you're like, all right, I'm the good guy tonight. Yeah, let's go. You know? I get to murder myself. Like that's weird.
That's weird. That's right.
But that's really impressive. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, but it's good to be home. I retired from Broadway and the Broadway theater community in the summer of 17, and came home to Augusta. And
so you guys both got here pretty
around the
close
same
to
time.
about the same time.
Russell
Yes.
came back and I came to town. There's a handful of us in the arts community that all arrived within just a couple months of each other. Dirk Meyer and his wife Paula, and now their new baby, the conductor of the Augusta Symphony, arrived.
He's awesome.
He's great.
Great.
They arrived just a couple of weeks after I did. Marty Elliott, who's the general manager of the Miller Theater, arrived just a couple months before I did.
Right.
There are a lot of us, and there are also, I think, a lot of folks in town in the arts community that are, I don't know if there's something in the air or we see the future, but re-energized a little bit. There's an excitement throughout the community right at the moment that is really thrilling
like
and
there
engaging.
was a Facebook group, and it was like, all right, artists moving to Augusta in 2017. We'll all meet up at the Miller Theater.
Right.
So, moving from your career, can we talk about the Augusta Players a little bit? Let the people know they're not people that are getting paid. Tell us what the Augusta Players are, and can I be in it if I want to?
Sure, of course.
Something so simple as that.
The Augusta Players is a unique organization, I think, in the world of community theater because we're fortunate to have great sponsors and grants and things like that give us a really solid producing budget. So just from a production value, we're doing really high-end work. But none of that matters if you don't have great talent telling great stories.
Right.
And that's one of the things that made me say yes to moving to Augusta. I went to the final dress rehearsal of Beauty and the Beast in the spring of 2017. It was my final interview for the job. And I was blown away because I had dear friends on the national tour of Beauty and the Beast. And I thought Augusta's was better.
Wow.
It was so good. The talent was just phenomenal. And every audition that I've been around in this city since then supports that. And you're right, they're all people from the CSRA. There's no one we're not auditioning in New York, we're not auditioning in Chicago or other places. It's right here, and so sometimes folks do come farther away because they want to be part of the production that we're doing. But 99.99% of every actor on that stage is local. Or there are a couple others too, like Casey Johnson, who, much like Russell and myself, had a career in New York, and came home to have a better style of living for his family as his kids are grown up. And so another guy who's got Broadway creds and experience, but he's here working in Augusta, and that's he's not the exception. The talent level is just exceptional. But it's open to everybody. I mean, we were talking about Ragtime a second ago. We had over 120 people, all local, audition for Ragtime.
Wow.
Which was phenomenal, and that's not the exception at all. And so we encourage that. We want that. One of the things that I'm proud of in the year and a half, 2 years that I've been producing shows here is our female lead, the female what's called ingenue, in every show has been a different actor. Like there haven't been 2 shows in a row where it's been the same actor.
That's impressive.
And I think that's really, really cool. It speaks volumes about the base talent level, and also that there are lots of people that are coming to join this family and this community. We just did a mini concert yesterday, and one of the things that I said to them is we are here for 2 groups of folks: the people that decide to participate and the people that we're performing for. All of you are our community. This is very much a community organization. And there's no reason for us to exist if those 2 communities don't come together. So we're very much for Augusta. And, we've got auditions 4 times a year for our main stage shows. And there's lots of other things we've got going on, too. And if you don't want to be on stage, we need dozens upon dozens of people to do lots of other things. Yeah, everything from building and painting to stapling and filing. Yeah. That's all done by volunteers. So
wow.
Please come play with us.
You did say the actors are volunteers.
Yes.
They're all volunteers.
Yep.
You're not paying anybody. That's incredible. Yep. Seriously.
And you said you had 125 people that auditioned.
120 plus, yes.
So we talked about this a little bit before the show, but how many people are on this show?
It's 48. There are 48 cast members.
And that's not including the stage tech, and that's not including... So this is a pretty
We're almost
huge
to 100
production.
folks, yeah.
That's crazy.
18 in the orchestra pit. Yeah.
Wow. You don't even think about an orchestra from Augusta playing at a major production here.
Yep. It's a small city that's producing this particular show, and every show's a little different. Other shows have much smaller casts. We overcast this a little bit just because the talent was so huge and the number of bodies. So we probably cast maybe 10 more people than I might have otherwise. But it's just...
That's a good thing.
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
It's wonderful. I mean,
except for you, because you have to manage all of it. But it's good for everybody else. He's losing his voice because of all the people.
We have a great team. We have a great team of folks.
Well, I do want to say to your listeners, though, that the doors and the windows of Augusta Players are open, right? So if you have any interest, if you have any inkling of an interest in being involved in the theater, the Augusta Players is the place to do it. Yeah. I mean, I've got almost 50 years of experience with this organization, and it's quality, it's nurturing, it's the place to do it. If you want to be involved in the theater, this is where to do it.
And while we're on that, what's the best way if somebody wants to get involved? They hear our podcast, they want to try out for a play or do stage tech or volunteer for the paperworks. What's the best way to get in touch with you guys?
Website, social media. Those
website,
2
social
are your
media.
best. Yeah.
What's the website?
Website is AugustaPlayers.org.
Easy.
.org.
Okay.
Yeah, AugustaPlayers.org. But we post on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at least once a day.
Okay.
Every day, 7 days a week.
Gotcha.
Information is getting
just like
out
Broadway.
there.
Never stops.
Never stops.
Never stops.
It's the first hour of my life every morning. Cup of coffee, the sunrise, and social media.
So Russell, I know you don't have too much longer with us because we're also wasting your voice because you have to go rehearse after this. So
Not a waste.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
But I do want to talk about a couple of things that you guys are doing in the community. We talked about this a little bit before the show too, and I really want our listeners to know all the stuff that's going on. I know you mentioned the junior players have something going on.
Sure, yeah. What happens at the Imperial Theater with the Augusta Players is what is most well known about who we are and what we do. But in so many ways, it's the smallest thing that we do, because we have so many other things going on. Things like the Augusta Junior Players, under the artistic directorship of Roy Lewis, who was an educator for 30 plus years in this community and is now, quotation marks, retired, but running the Augusta Junior Players, and actually also plays one of the principal characters in Ragtime too. So he's a busy man right at the moment.
It's a very soft retirement.
But they're currently in rehearsal with a show called Madagascar Junior, based on the animated feature.
Awesome.
After that is a really powerful piece coming up in February during Black History Month called Anne Meets Emmett. It's called a memory play about Anne Frank meeting Emmett Till in Purgatory. It's a powerful piece of theater. And they've got lots of other shows,
That's
including
not the juniors.
That's the juniors. Yeah,
That's
the juniors. Yeah.
Holy moly!
Yeah.
Right.
But then later in the season, we're also doing Frozen Junior. So
How old are these juniors?
Every show is a little bit different, but we do shows for little ones, like starting at 5 years old, up through 18 or 19 years old. So
the Purgatory one's not the 5-year-olds.
You are correct.
Okay,
I would say probably not.
Just want to make sure.
It's probably hard for them to get into character.
Yeah.
All right, and Frank. I'd be so impressed.
But we also have a program called Art Reach, which is bringing in schools from all over the CSRA into the Imperial Theater 4 times a year, 4 shows each of those times. So roughly 3,200 kids 4 times a year come to the Imperial Theater to see shows that are specific to their curriculum. Right now, in addition to Ragtime and Madagascar,
awesome. We're
also rehearsing The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the play.
Gotcha, that's cool.
So we've got a lot going on there, and that's on top of our special events. Like, there's a really cool special event with Ragtime we're doing, because it kicks off our 75th anniversary. So we're doing a speakeasy party on the Friday and Saturday nights.
And that's going to be so hot. Oh
Yeah,
my goodness.
really excited about that.
Wait,
Where is that? Is this like a
Can you
public
talk about
invitation?
I
it?
can,
or
yeah,
is
we
it
just announced it.
speakeasy?
We
No.
just announced it.
We
Give
just
us a
announced it
couple
last
minutes
week.
on that, because that is exciting.
Sure. So we're, the Imperial Theater is one of our partners, and we are partnering with the Miller Theater for the first time. They have this great new space called the Knox Music Institute on their second floor.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's great. And that's going to be where our speakeasy is, right across the street from the Imperial Theater. It goes from 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. on the Friday and Saturday nights. And you have to...
On theme.
You have
On
to...
theme.
Yeah.
You have to have a coin to get in there, a souvenir coin. So it's essentially a cover charge.
Okay.
But you buy this coin. We'll announce it on Friday, where they're going to be several places around downtown. Or you can get them at the show itself.
Gotcha.
And you walk in, and there's drinks, and there's girls walking around with snack trays in
that's
costume,
so cool.
and live entertainment and
You'll
singing.
catch us there.
Yeah.
You'll catch us
I mean, we
there.
are going anyway.
Oh my goodness.
And it was Marty Elliott's idea over at the Miller to do a cigar bourbon bar outside in the
Oh
alley.
my
Wow,
goodness.
we're there.
So
I committed before the best part.
So hot.
That's amazing.
The very idea is hot.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine
So-
something like that happening here. I'm
It's
so
one-
impressed.
Yes, it's one of those things where you go once kind of thing, or can you buy 2 coins and
Well,
go different nights?
You can go. You can buy 2 coins
we
and
could
go 2
double
nights in a
dip.
row. So, but what you could do too is when you go in, you'll get a wristband.
Right.
So if you want to go and maybe have a drink and an appetizer before the show at 6 p.m., walk across the street, see the show. You can come back and party
That's
with
really
because
cool.
the cast can't go until after the show.
Sure,
so you can come back and party with the cast.
So it's
after.
like an
That's
after
so
party on
Yeah.
cool.
It's-
That is crazy.
and also kicks off our season as well.
This
So
is great.
technically, you heard it here, people.
That's right.
The speakeasy is happening across the street.
What are
right.
the dates of that?
Same as the show. It's on the Friday and Saturday night of the show, so the 27th and 28th
Okay.
of September. And we aren't telling you where you go in. There'll be a guy out front. His name is
So-
his name is Tony.
Is there a password?
He'll be in a suit. You just have to have the coin, but you have to find Tony, and he will
Wow.
direct you to the door. To
That
get
is
in there.
amazing.
Is he going to have an Italian accent?
Actually,
It's Augusta.
we haven't cast
It's
him yet.
Augusta,
So, folks, if you
Georgia.
want to
It's a
audition,
speakeasy, you know?
That's
He's
true.
got... Hey, what's the pass? Yeah, I can't do Italian, but I did the finger thing. So
Yeah.
everyone's got a picture of that.
And we're about to be back with our final question. But first, quick thank you to our audio sponsor today, Amplified Events. Amplified Events has been raising the bar on entertainment in the CSRA since 2014. Not only do they provide DJ and MC services, but they also do professional lighting, photo booths, karaoke, game show hosting, and just about anything that your next event needs. Check them out for your next event, be it a wedding, corporate function, or private event, because they will definitely amp up any occasion. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram at Amplified Events AUG, by phone at 706-810-0267, and online at ampyourevent.com. That's ampyourevent.com.
So we know you guys have to run. I told you guys this before, and I don't know if we've sent you this question in advance, so I actually look forward to these answers. But our tagline is our hashtag, because 21st century, is drop the diss. So we're all about dropping the diss from Disgusta. We're talking about how great Augusta is. And what we ask every guest before the end of the show is to kind of tell us a little bit, and as long or as little as you'd like, in what dropping the diss from Disgusta means to you personally. And I really look forward to these answers. But what does dropping the diss mean to you?
Well, I'm going to jump into this one. So
Do it.
A year
It's
ago,
for both of you.
about a year ago, I went with the Convention and Visitors Bureau to Atlanta to talk about Augusta. To talk about
Benish Brown?
Benish was not with the organization yet.
Pre-Benish.
Okay, pre-Benish.
But it was a chance for me also to go talk about the Augusta Players outside, the CSRA, and we met with reporters and editors and magazine writers and influencers and bloggers, and just it was kind of like speed dating. We sat behind a table, and they all, every 5 minutes or so, went around the room and chatted with each of us. And a lady came up that writes for a family magazine, and she said, "Why should I tell my readers to spend a day in Augusta?" And I told her about the canal tours. I told her about the new Green Jacket stadium. I told her about the new home of the symphony. I told her about how the Augusta Players continues to grow. I told her about the kids theater in town called Storyland Theater. I talked about the trails that are happening here and the new stuff, the new art that's happening along the canal, and all of these things. And you could just see her eyes getting wider and wider and wider. And she said, "I had no idea. I've been going to Augusta for years, and I didn't know that was there." And I asked her, "When was the last time you were there?" She said, "Oh, about 10 years ago."
There it
Been
is.
going for years.
And I think that's a little bit of the issue is folks still are thinking about the Augusta of 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. So, they don't come downtown, because when I was downtown 18 years ago, something bad happened, and I haven't been back since because I don't want it to happen again.
Right.
Like, there's so much going on.
Greatest eye roll.
Yeah. And
That's
that's
a
maybe
meme. That would be a great meme. I'm sorry.
the Miller Theater has got, I think Marty said at the event that I was just at, that opened that Knox room, I think they did over 300 shows of some sort since they've opened.
Wow.
And we aren't even talking about the Bell or James Brown Arena or Lachat. There's just so much in this city that people are either aware of or choosing to not pay attention to, because 18 years ago, Aunt Martha came downtown and stepped in dog poop. I don't know what it is.
Very well could be true.
Something happened and she's not happy. And so for me, it's changing that mindset. It's getting the word out that it's not the Augusta that it was 10 years ago. And I wasn't here then, so I don't really know what that was.
Yeah, right.
But I can tell you what I see now, and it's pretty exciting. I mean, the future, I think, is incredibly bright, and we just have to get the word out, not only to folks like me from outside of Augusta, because I think we're all coming in because of new industry and stuff. I think the harder get is to let our community know that there's cool things happening here, and you should go check it out.
Right.
Yes.
Like Ragtime, September 27th,
Ragtime.
29th.
That's right.
Ragtime.
That's right. I tell you guys, the easy answer is, if you don't like somewhere, then change your environment or change your mind about it, right? Mm-hmm. But for me, the drop disc is about, I believe that people who use that term Disgusta don't know enough about the city. Like, they haven't looked around, and they haven't really researched, and they haven't really found out what's happening here. They've sat at home and said, "Oh, well, all of my friends say this about Augusta, and I wish I were doing more. But there's nothing else to do here because I haven't heard about it." Well,
So you think it's an education
it's
issue?
an education issue, and I don't think that it's on us to reach into their homes and get them out of the lazy boy.
Right.
I mean, I want to tell them about Ragtime, and I want to tell them about what's happening at Lachette, and I want to tell them about what's going on in the city, but they have to do some work too.
Right.
And if you're going to stay here, and I encourage you to stay here, then open your eyes and open the newspaper and go online and figure out what's happening here.
Listen
Find
to a
out
podcast.
Listen to a podcast, right? I mean, we have a thriving experimental theater here. A city the size of Augusta doesn't have a thriving experimental theater. They might have a one-off and a one-off and a one-off.
Yeah.
We're just talking about theater, and we have Broadway costumes in Ragtime. We have an experimental theater downtown. We have a Storyland Theater specifically programming for children.
We haven't even talked about that yet. You guys upstairs, you're using original Broadway costumes in a play that's happening in Augusta.
In Augusta, Georgia. Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So even if we just talk about theater, there are so many opportunities and there's so much programming happening in the theater. And that's true in every arena. We have a boxing club. We have a fencing club. We have, I mean, come on.
Do I remember that? Is there a roller derby team in this city?
There is.
Oh, there is. There's a roller derby team.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In
That's crazy.
a city our size,
Yeah, that's
a roller
crazy.
derby. Come on, man. So I just encourage people to know more about the city that you live in and get involved. There's plenty to be involved in. If you want to sit in your lazy boy, then sit there. But you can do that in Peoria. Because there really might not be anything else to do in Peoria.
pay
But
a
there's
lot
plenty
less
to
for
do in
rent.
Augusta. There's plenty to do in Augusta. Come out and see Ragtime. That'll be the
Come out and see Ragtime.
And then go to the Speakeasy.
Go to the speakeasy.
Go to the
Please
speakeasy, then go to Ragtime, then party with
party
the
with the
actors.
cast.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Oh, that's. I hope we
I'm
see you at the
super excited.
speakeasy.
I'll be there after the show.
Oh, I'm so
Good.
excited. That's
Good.
worth staying
30
up.
For 30 minutes. Okay.
That's long
Because
enough.
I've got a show the next
Yeah,
day.
exactly.
Well, thank you guys. Thank
Yes,
you for
thank
being
you
on
so
our show.
much.
You guys
Thank
have
you
a
for having
rehearsal
us.
right after this, and
Only
like,
3.5 hours. That's it.
Wow.
It's a short one.
and it's 6 o'clock right now. So you're talking 9:30 when the rehearsal's done. So thank you for all the time that you guys are putting in to make the city a better place. It's really amazing to meet people like you guys who are from from Augusta, but also from all around the world, really. And you've decided to come here and really make the city a better place.
Thank you for having us.
I'm glad that this is your home now.
Me too.
You guys are awesome. I'm glad that we've all connected.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
And hey, we'll
We'll see you at the speaking.
Yeah.